So we are so thrilled and honored, as always we are, to bring in the founder of the Green Group and DJ Stable, man about town in Ocala here, Len Green. Welcome to the show.
It is my pleasure. I'll take over the rest of the show if it's okay with you guys.
That's normal standard procedures.
So we can get right out of here if you just want to do it solo. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about the Green Group, which is the #1 accounting firm in the horse business. Terry said you're approaching 1,000 clients now. Is that true?
1,000 horse clients. Yeah. There are over 4,000 regular clients. There are other people who have money, but they're slowly but surely getting into the horse business. And they find out, all the tax advantages, as well as the thrills and everything else involved in it.
Yeah.
And I think, but I think for an accounting firm to succeed, Joe, you can't be like every other accounting firm. Same as this program succeeds because it's not like other programs that think they're doing the same thing. You got to do things differently, kind of thing. So we decided right off that we were only going to be involved in industries that we really could give back, that we had the knowledge, unique knowledge to do it. And the horse business is one of those because no other owner owns 800 horses,
right.
Okay, or 200 horses, okay, is the right number, or, okay, has won as many races, as we have, but we're involved in every aspect of it. Mm-hmm. So why would you go to a mechanic who doesn't know anything about cars? You'd only go to somebody who knows something about it, and that's really what's happened. That's why when we advertise, when you speak so well of just give me a chance to take a shot at something. We have never seen a tax return now that we have not been able to save money on. Okay, people say to me, well, we go with a national firm. Well, national firm people aren't there anymore. You're only as good as the person doing it, kind of thing. And here, you have all this experience, and we really want to save you money.
Yeah. Well, we're 2 days after, 3 days, I don't forget what day it is down here, after tax day. You do have the complimentary consultation for Rail Talk listeners. Does that still apply for next year?
It applies with every single person that I look at. And the fact that it's been on Rail Talk has resulted in an awful lot of people calling me and saying, hey, I heard this. From prominent people, okay? And so there's a real reason that we're involved in this. And yes, we spell it out again. If you send your return in on a complimentary and confidential basis, okay, I personally look at it. And for every single return that I've ever looked at, I can save them money. Now, I got a lot more experience than most people who prepare the returns for these people, okay? And I have a real interest in wanting to save money.
Oh, you, bro.
So we're here with Glenn Green from the Green Group. Can I call you Glenn? Is that okay?
Jim and Glenn Green.
Jim and Glenn, exactly. So one of the things that I always enjoy about coming to Ocala is obviously looking at the horses and trying to figure out what our next great horse is going to be. But I've noticed that when you walk around, when we're looking at horses, you're also talking to the consigners and talking to other owners and stuff like that, and you're taking notes. What does that all do for you when the sale is all over? What do you use those notes for?
Well, again, I really believe that you can advertise as much as you want on shows like this, and you get planted in the back of people's minds a name. But it's till you see the face, until you see the person, that it really does. And invariably, I will come to a sale like this and say, okay, here on my agenda is to meet 40 people that are clients of mine who are either selling horses or I know can be there. And I am betting, okay, that at least of that group, okay, there'll be at least 10 or 15 that say to me, hey, I have somebody I want to recommend you to, or here is somebody who's here. And John, it's invariable. That's how you keep it going. Okay, it's the personal touch plus the advertising.
Absolutely. Well, and I get this question sometimes from prospective West Point partners, what kind of tax advantages are there for getting involved in racehorse ownership? And I always tell them, I'm not smart enough to know that, but I know a guy who is. So without giving away the secret sauce or too many of the loopholes or whatever there are, what are some of the broad tax advantages of owning horses?
Well, okay, there's two aspects of that question. Number one, okay, most accountants are very, very busy doing everything, okay? We're busy, but we stay up on the horse cases and the horse law And I'll even tell you how many senators it'll take to then pass the new Child Care Act, which has a provision in it to reinstate the expense write-off, 100% expense write-off. We stay up on that because we're involved in that. Number two, what people say, well, you can only get 60% write-off now when you buy a horse. That's only one of 4 ways that you can depreciate a horse, okay? And even if you take 60 now, what happens to the other 40? Well, do I ever get it back or not? Believe it or not, it becomes a net operating loss carry forward, and you can take 100% of it next year. So, okay, but in addition to that, you can still write off more than 100%, up to 100% of the horse if under a different method, or you can take different methods of depreciation and you get 2/3 of it. I mean, but most accountants will tell you what the basics are. Now, if somebody asks me about a different industry, I'm not going to be able to do that for them, Joe. But for this industry, I can. And then they say to me, well, I'm in West Point. Okay, do I just get the K1 and is that it? No. What happens when you go up to Saratoga and you have breakfast and you're networking, et cetera? That's all becomes deductible, your trip up there. Okay? So there's many aspects of this. It's not just this way.
Right. No. And Len, you've been in the business for 40 plus years. You've seen, it grow and evolve and change. We asked Terry Finley and Mark Casse both about their insight and thoughts on Heiss and how that's changed the industry. You're a smart guy. Can you give us some insight on how this is changing the business?
I was very impressed the first time I heard Lisa on your show. Okay. I mean, here's a young woman who's intelligent and she can make decisions. And I said, gee, if I ever could go one-on-one with her, which we had the opportunity to when we flew home, I can tell her what she's up against, okay? And it's going to be this is going to be one of the most difficult jobs she has. But the most important thing I said to her is, try to get some input from different people in the industry, not necessarily the people who are officers or officials in the business, but people who are on the ground, who have a different sight and aspect of it. So, Joe, I really applaud her on this newest thing, getting young people into it, okay? I thought the criteria was you had to have a beard, but I see that
you have to have a podcast.
Or a podcast or something like that. But I really believe that those are very, very important. I think Heiss is the best thing that's happened in this industry. John, you and I mean, we ran in certain tracks where we had less than 1/3 of a chance to win because 2 or 3 of the trainers were winning 2/3 of the races. And they don't investigate you at parks until you win 2 stake races, and then maybe they look at you or something. But I mean, we won championships up there, and we're not running there anymore. And there's a reason for it, and it needs to take these steps, which are hard steps. And there's going to be blips in the road. We're going to hurt little people or think people. But as I said to Lisa the other day, I said, as long as you learn from them, that's the most important thing. I think it's the best thing that's happened to the industry.
Yeah, just to switch gears a little bit, I love listening to you because you have such a great historical context of racing because you've been doing it for so long.
Because he's old.
You said it, not me. This is why I'm your favorite son, because I don't spell these things out. But I would love to know, like, if I just asked you, what's your favorite memory from DJ Stable over the years? I think of Wonder Wheel a couple years ago. I was honored to be there at the Breeders' Cup when you guys won. That was a champion. Jaywalk was a champion. But just quick reaction, favorite memory over all the years doing DJ Stable.
I think there's 2 of them, Joe, if I could.
Yeah.
Okay. One was a horse called Residian, okay, which was our first $5,000 winner at Monmouth, where I ended up actually ordering 20 pictures.
So we lost money. Even though we won the first, we lost money in the photo expenses.
And then we had a horse called Do It With Style, which had an interesting story behind it, okay, where the horse was bought by some young kid, okay, who went over the budget, so I made him send it back, and he bought it again, and I said, how could you buy it again if you didn't have the money? He said, Mom gave me the rest of the money. And it turned out to be do it with style. And then we went to the Ashland, and I had never been to Kentucky racetrack before. And we were up high, okay, and I'm used to, in every other track, walking down the steps and running into the paddock, okay? Do it with style 1, okay? And I stopped to pray for a few minutes, and I looked up, and there was nobody else in the box. And I couldn't see where they were because they went downstairs across the infield, okay? So I started running down there, and I had no credentials, and they wouldn't let me on the track and go across. But when we finally got there, that was probably, I think it was the first graded stake race.
First grade 1 winner we had for sure.
Yeah, kind of thing. So again, those are thrills, but the real thrill is going to be the next time we get in. Mm-hmm. And it's so hard, and you get hyped up, okay, because of Hades, okay, and then you take steps to say, okay, if we do something, can we still get in? And you take the steps, and then the horse doesn't do it. But again, as disappointed as you might be at that, I saw Rick Mendez the other day, and his horse was in the Derby, and now it broke down. And it's not going to race again. Right. So here you gotta, Joe. It's got to be the next. It's got to be here looking at the track and seeing how many 2-year-olds you have. Mm-hmm. It's got to be going over to the OBS sale and still buying 2-year-olds, even though you have enough 2-year-olds, with the criteria being, hey, can we find one that's better than the one we have before? When you stop doing that, I think that's when you start declining.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's always, just to interrupt for a second, I think you're always changing and evolving too, Joe. Like, our game plan from DJ Stable wasn't necessarily to come down here and buy a bunch of horses, but then Rapoli announced that he wasn't buying anything, and John Stewart announced that he wasn't buying anything. Mm-hmm. And we looked around and we said, well, it's a West Point and a couple other owners, end users, and us, and that's it. So all of a sudden you go from being, well, we don't really need any more because we have all these horses here with Casse and some with Orsino, to, wow, this is a great opportunity because the horses aren't going to be as expensive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Until somebody walks in and John says, he's going to outbid you. And I said, no, he's not, John.
but to your credit, you let him outbid you.
I let him
That's
outbid
good. That's good. You did knife his tire of his car, but you did let him get the horse.
Nancy Kerrigan.
That's right. That's right. We are from Jersey, So.
If you ever have a chance to watch Len at the auction, you should, because it's the subtlest bidding I've ever seen in my life. This is it. Yeah. Like half of an index finger, right?
Well, except that yesterday, you say that, but yesterday we were trying to get the bid spotter's attention, and he wasn't looking, and Len was getting a little pissed off, and so finally he got the guy's attention, and the bid spotter was watching, and then the next 5 bids from Len were. He was throwing curveballs. He was going like that.
See, that's why we love Len. He adapts.
He adapts and overcomes. That's right.
Except then. I got the horse, but then I didn't get the horse. Right. And John says,
nope, you don't want to mess with it. They're running you, baby.
Oh, man. Well, Len, thank you so much for stopping by. And by the way, if you want to hit Len up for that complimentary, confidential consultation, those are
with guaranteed results.
Exactly. Guaranteed to save you taxes. Go to greenco.com, or what's the phone number?
732-634-5100.
All right. Well,
he's a numbers guy.
Exactly. But Len, thank you so much for coming on, for the sponsorship, and just for your insights as always.
It's nice to be with a celebrity.
and your son.
Thank you, brother.
All right.